City Power says it is all hands on deck as the entity battles to restore power. It's even had to adjust working hours to deal with the electrical crisis currently unfolding in the city.
Well, this follows recent heavy rains and flooding. How is the City Power coping with the added effect of stage 5 blackouts? Well, we're also joined by Johannesburg Infrastructure MMC Michael Sun. Thank you so much, MMC, for your time this morning. A very good morning to you. There is no denying that the heavy rains really did a number in terms of some of these residential homes, most importantly for those that are living within squalor, people that are living in shacks, people that are living in the more disadvantaged communities. But it certainly does say something about us rethinking infrastructure and rethinking infrastructure so that it becomes more effective and it's able to withstand some of these heavy conditions, which I don't think will dissipate anytime soon.
Good morning, Faith, and also good morning to Madupe. Certainly, your observations are very much correct. The infrastructure in the city of Johannesburg was never designed and built in such a way that we now see an influx and a growing number of residents. So certainly, we need to rethink those urban planning, of course, the building and design of our infrastructure. For example, some of the areas that are badly affected by this weather, such as Rutherford. The electrical connections there are so old that it's never designed to withstand stages of load shedding. So they keep on switching on and off, coupled with the natural phenomenon we're looking at, the floods and the storms. So we are really battling, but we are getting there. The report I got just before midnight last night, certainly a large part of Rutherford has been restored. So we're certainly making progress.
1,000 active outages and 4,000 open calls, MMC. That is a lot. And I mean, you're even just raising Roodepoort as one of the areas that have been terribly affected given their aging infrastructure. But City Power, at least you've said that you have the confidence in City Power to make sure that they're dealing with this issue. But just how much can they deal with it? I mean, this is huge if you're talking 4,000 open calls.
So the 4,000 open calls, obviously, many of them are in duplicate, if not in triplicate, because when you get an area outage, all the residents would phone at the same time. But that does not mean that we are not concerned. We are certainly concerned. City Power has an internal mechanism. So as soon as the calls reach a threshold of 3,000, we initiate what we call crisis management mode. And this is where we start to redeploy resources and ensure that we get to every single call. It's certainly very concerning because this kind of natural phenomenon, coupled again with the stage 5 load shedding, something that we as a country, as a city, that we have never experienced before. But as I indicated that the working hour has been adjusted, all the outages will be attended to from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And after 6 p.m., the area outages will be attended to. And some of the teams where they don't have to deal with emergencies are being pulled in to deal with these fault restorations. So certainly it's all hands on deck for us.
MMC, I want to labor a little bit here on what you were saying about how we need to start rethinking the city of Johannesburg. You're absolutely correct in saying that the city was never designed. Number one, the city was never designed to have a black majority in it. The city was designed to have a few minority people and for the black majority to come in, work and go into their Bantu stands, right? So we understand the historical context of the city of Johannesburg. It was for migrant labor and labor not to stay within the city, and those that stay in the city are those that are more privileged and are obviously of a different hue. But since democracy, right, town planning, for example, becomes a very intricate part of being able to sustain the city. Migration is something that we've been contending with as a country for a very long time, never mind the city of Johannesburg, where everybody comes to the city of gold. So it's not a surprise that people are migrating and moving from not only from the rural areas, from the peri-urban areas, but also from other countries to come and seek better economic opportunities within Johannesburg, the city of gold. And in that case, that means that significant town planning is needed, but also foresight is needed, visionary is needed. And I really am wondering that if we are reacting to all of this right now, I take account that the weather is a problem, taking full account. But let's not leave out the fact that we've known that people are going to be leaving other countries, other provinces to come and seek better economic opportunities within the city of Johannesburg, which means that it's an indictment on government, local government, to make sure that the city can withstand the people.
So I again want to agree with your observation. You know, in the past, people came to Johannesburg for the gold. There was a gold rush, as we all know, South African history. But now Johannesburg is very much different. You know, mining is minimal. We are the economic hub of the country, and if not of the continent. And again, where are we looking at improving our infrastructure? The point is that I'm trying to make is that the government failed for many, many years to put enough investment into infrastructure. At some stage, you would see that where we have a normal household, for example, that would accommodate one family, but you're now looking at probably 3 or 4 families living at one stand. So the consumption of resources is tremendous. And of course, the other aspect is the waste and the sewer that's been generated from that, that kind of capacity needs to be handled. So certainly that we as local government, we need to ensure that we put enough resources. And I think starting from this current political terms, multi-party government, we thought of that. And that's why we see tens of billions of rands being invested into renewing, maintaining, and building infrastructures in the city of Johannesburg, because we can't let the status quo continue. We're simply going to go on battling and even battle more if we don't put enough attention and resources into the current infrastructure.
MMC, you're saying that the boots on the ground and those, of course, behind the phone call are rising to this unprecedented challenge. But now, of course, we still need to factor in the matter of the weather. You know, if I'm looking at the weather forecast in Johannesburg, at least for the next week, we're looking at things like 80% to 60% chance of thunder showers. People cannot work under such weather conditions. So then, if you're saying that it's a 6 to 6 kind of operation every day, you know, the increase of working hours, how are those who have the boots on the ground going to be able to work and actually deal with the problem if weather is still an issue?
Of course, safety is always first for our on-the-ground team. Weather is one element that we have to take into account, but provided that the working environment is safe to do so, the team will continue to restore faults. But the bigger problem is the load shedding. So when there's load shedding and there's no electricity in the grid, the electricians simply can't work because they can't check where the faults are. So it's a bigger problem where you have these intermittent breaks in between, that the electricians can only work after load shedding has ended. So we certainly hope that the weather will improve, but it is a concern for us. But even that, with all the different challenges, natural and man-made, we still will continue to ensure that we get to every single fault as soon as we can.
Yeah. You know, MMC, more than anything else, I'm hoping that we can minimize the amount of times we have conversations regarding forward thinking on behalf of local government, the people that are mandated, voted, elected to ensure that the city works, right? The city works for all of its people. And in this case, though, when you're saying that we're just putting together implementation strategies to ensure that you can build a city that is truly reflective of its citizenship and its residents, how long is that going to take? And are we saying that before then we had the likes of Pak Stau, for example, who was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg? Are we saying that the ANC government failed and then therefore you guys inherited something completely different? Or are we saying that now things are going to be different now that it's a multi-party coalition with different mayors sometimes at different times of the month? How do you gain sustainability and clear planning here to ensure that we don't find ourselves in a situation? You have to just go to Alexandra. Alexandra Township is a typical example of what happens when we do not plan. How long is this going to take to implement?
We can certainly have a very in-depth discussion as to where we went wrong, but I don't think that's what we should be doing now. In fact, what we're doing is that we are looking forward to see what we can change, what then we can build. And the one thing that we cannot deny is that you cannot build Rome in a day. And certainly Rome was not destroyed in a day. With some of the other aspects, and I'm looking towards provincial government, I'm looking towards national government. For example, we've applied to Eskom for more capacity in terms of electricity, that was denied. And again, when we go to Rainwater and say we need more water, again, the licensing restrictions are there. So we are not getting sufficient basic resources to build the city. And then a lot of the developers will come to us and say, but you are not granting our permits to develop. And that obviously impacts the growth and the service provision to the residents. We should have started many years back already, but that's not going to be an excuse. We need to look forward and start planning and start building, and certainly that's what we've been doing since taking government in December last year. It's been almost a year. There's a lot of projects that have been put on the ground. In fact, a lot of the project is coming to a completion. So we, as the responsible local government, we ensure that within our limited resources, we will do whatever we can to ensure that this is a livable, this is a resilient city for all the residents that not only living in it, but those that's coming to invest and coming to work.
MMC, we'll leave it there with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the South African Morning this morning. That is Michael Sun, who of course